I live now, right in Boston. And you see who it is? It's members of the Women's Organization for National Prohibition Reform. It was the women that ended that terrible law. Why would they do such a thing? Well, they write it right on their cars. Save our children. Stamp out prohibition. Well, folks, that's all we're saying at least. Please, save our children. Stamp out prohibition. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. It was interesting to listen to you yesterday, but I think today was even better. Because we got the whole story. And this last part was so important for us to have. And I'm really very happy that you use so much energy on these matters. It is of great importance in your country, as it is in our countries. Even if there will certainly be people here with questions to your point of view. And it is free now. The air is free for everybody. No smoking, you know.
I wonder if you could say anything about what made you change your mind so radically when you were in the police.
It was a learning process. I actually started changing my mind little by little. You know, I grew up in Wichita, Kansas, in the heartland of the United States, the Bible Belt, and we were very right-wing and very patriotic, believed in all the things that the government told us. And we didn't think we had any drug problem in Wichita, Kansas, because people with a drug problem were the people who on a Friday night might smoke a marijuana cigarette. Of course, I had a terrible drug problem of my own. When I was 14 years old, I used to get falling down drunk about once a week with my friends. I smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day for 15 years, so I had some real drug problems. We just didn't understand that those were drug problems because those weren't illegal. So when I went in the state police, I never wanted to be a cop in my life, and I went in for reasons that most people don't go in. But once I was in, I really believed going into narcotics was the best thing I could do because I thought this was the scourge of the earth and it was going to end society as we know it. I believed all the stories. And certainly when I went to the police academy, they reinforced all this, saying drug users were the vermin, they were the worst people in the world, they would kill you in a moment if they ever got a chance. And I believed that, and I started working undercover. After 3 years of living on the street with those folks, I realized they were no different than me at all. You know? They had exactly the same wants and needs and urges, and they wanted basically to raise a family and fill their bellies and feed their kids and get some respect. And the only thing that separated them from me was they wanted to put something in their body that I didn't want to put in mine. So after 3 years in, I had a bit of an epiphany. It occurred to me that I liked a lot of the people I was working on better than some of the people I was working for. And I said, there's something wrong with what we're doing. Yes, sir.
Do you think soft drugs should also be given out free, or do you envision a different distribution system for different kinds of drugs?
Yeah, this is a very long subject. So what I would do is I would refer you to, there's a book that was just published last November by Transform. It's a drug policy reform group out of the UK. It's a wonderful book. It's called After the War, A Blueprint for Regulation. It's a whole book explaining, and what they talk about in it, I agree with. And you can download it from the internet. Just put in the name, and you can download the whole book for free. And you can also download a executive summary, which would really get into it in depth. Okay, but the short answer to that is each drug should be treated in a different way because each drug has different strengths and different things it does to you. And today, In California, there is an initiative that just went on the ballot for the November election called Tax and Regulate Cannabis 2010. And LEAP is going to be out there every day working to get that passed, because they call it tax and regulate, but you can't tax and regulate anything if it's illegal. So it's a de facto legalization bill. And if it passes, it's just going to sweep across the nation. There's already 6 or 7 other states that I've testified in that have bills in committee, the same kind of bill that'll come right out if this passes.
You think it will pass?
I think it's very tight. 52% of the population on the last poll in California said they agree with it. But normally we don't get into trying to run an initiative or a bill on decrim or legalized medical marijuana or anything unless we got 60%. Because we know that once it actually becomes a bill or actually becomes an initiative, the police and the district attorneys come out on it, and we lose a minimum of 6 percentage points. So if you figure that, we're not going to win.
You had a question.
This is all very depressing, and it's a bit overwhelming being presented with your facts here. From the war on drugs. I have this book here called The Strength of the Pack. It's written by the son of a DEA agent. It's by Douglas Valentine, called The Strength of the Pack. His conclusion, he very much concurs with you, very much agrees with everything. And his conclusion is, however, in The Strength of the Pack, Douglas Valentine explains why dismantling the 44 billion a year DEA behemoth is unlikely to happen as long as America strives to maintain a world empire. Now that's getting into the real core of it, how the drug business, $500 billion a year, supports the military, supports the wars, supports the CIA, all of this. It's a huge new subject, but I think they're so entangled you can't really talk about a solution to the drug problem without getting caught up in the other, that of militarism.
That's right. That's right. And somehow you've got to
my question is,
combat that.
how can these be separated? How can we get a legalization without dismantling the global class society that we have now erected?
I think certainly they're not going to give this up easy. I tell the people that join LEAP, I suggest to them, it's really important to join us because we're the people most likely to be able to change these things because of our credibility. And I also say, you know, how many chances does anybody have in their whole life to be part of a revolution? And this is literally a revolution. It's an educational revolution, but it's a revolution nevertheless. If we get what we want, it's going to change the face of the world. It's all going to be for the better. And they're not going to give this up easily. Nobody gives away power. But if we get a large enough grassroots organization doing this, we can force it to happen. And that's what we want to do. And as I said to people yesterday, I almost never talk about the stuff you were just mentioning because our CIA is certainly involved and has been involved from the front, from the time they were created in 1947 with destabilizing governments around the world and using the war on drugs in order to allow whichever side we pick, whether we pick the government or we pick the rebels in the country, we allow the side we pick to sell illegal drugs in the United States and use that money to pay for arms to fight these secret wars, which are only, by the way, secret to citizens of the United States. Everybody else in the world seems to know about this.
Which is exactly
But you don't have to talk about it. You don't have to talk about it because once we end the war on drugs, the CIA is out of business with this anyway, so I don't have to bring it up.
Okay. There are now several who wants the floor. So, and I have registered already, or can I ask, Per Ole and Katja and Arild Knudsen. And I've proposed that these three now raise their questions and we keep you under control for a little while. Per Ole?
Excuse me. Yeah, thanks a lot. I will be short. It was a most engaging lecture.